You just got the job offer. 6 figures, $100,000 per year. You made it. The American dream is finally within reach. Your parents are proud, your friends are impressed, and you're thinking, finally, I can afford a real house. Maybe that $500,000 home in the good school district. But here's the brutal truth that nobody's telling you. $100,000 in 2026 is broke. And if you buy a $500,000 house on that salary, you're not an owner. You're a financial sleepwalker entering a prison of illiquidity that will trap you for 30 years. I'm Sam, and I'm about to destroy the six-figure salary myth with forensic mathematics. By the end of this video, you'll understand why that $100,000 salary that sounds like success is actually working-class purchasing power in disguise. Let's start with the lie you've been sold, the idea that $100,000 per year means you've made it. For decades, 6 figures has been positioned as the golden idol of the American middle class. Hit $100,000 and you're successful. You can afford the house, the car, the lifestyle. You've won. Wrong, dead wrong. Let me show you what $100,000 actually means in 2026 dollars. Because of inflation, $100,000 today has the same purchasing power as roughly $48,000 in the 1990s. Think about that. Your parents or older colleagues who made $50,000 in 1995, they had more buying power than you do making $100,000 today. That luxury salary on paper has been reduced to working-class purchasing power in reality. The number went up, but what it can actually buy went down. And housing costs? They didn't just keep pace with inflation, they doubled what they should cost. The median home that should be $250,000 based on historical ratios is now $500,000. So you're making half the real income with double the housing costs. And society is telling you that you should be able to afford that $500,000 house because you're a six-figure earner. This is the six-figure lie. And if you believe it, you're about to destroy your financial future. Now let me run the actual numbers on what happens when you try to buy that $500,000 house on a $100,000 salary. You scrape together 10% down. That's $50,000. Maybe you saved it, maybe your parents helped, maybe you cashed out stock options. Doesn't matter. That $50,000 is about to become dead equity. You finance $450,000. At 2026 interest rates, let's say 7%, your mortgage payment is $2,994 per month. But that's not your real housing cost. Let me show you the full monthly extraction machine. Mortgage, $2,994. Property taxes, $520, 1.25% annually. Insurance, $200. HOA, $150. Utilities, $300. Maintenance, $416. 1% of home value annually. Total monthly housing cost, $4,580. Now let me perform what I call an amortization autopsy on that $2,994 mortgage payment. This is where we dissect where your money actually goes. Month 1, you send the bank $2,994. How much of your house did you actually buy? About $372. The other $2,622? That's interest vapor. Unrecoverable. Gone forever. Evaporated into the bank's profit margin. 88% of your payment is renting money from the bank. You're not building equity. You're the bank's most profitable tenant, paying them $2,622 per month for the privilege of borrowing their money while thinking you're an owner. Over the first year, you'll pay $35,928 in mortgage payments. Want to know how much of your house you actually bought? About $4,464. The rest, $31,464, is interest vapor. You could have rented a comparable house for $2,800 per month and thrown away less money than you're throwing away in interest alone. But nobody calls mortgage interest throwing money away because it's hidden behind the word payment. Now let me give you the forensic tool that exposes this scam, the 7% rule. Take the home price, $500,000. Multiply by 0.07 and divide by 12. You get $2,916 per month. This is your unrecoverable cost floor. This number represents what you're throwing away every single month as a homeowner. 1. Mortgage interest vapor. $2,622 in month 1, slowly decreasing over 30 years. 2. Property taxes, a perpetual rent to the government. You never stop paying this, ever. You think you own your house? Stop paying property taxes and see who really owns it. 3. Maintenance, the unsexy stuff. Roof patches, HVAC replacements, water heaters, plumbing emergencies. This builds zero equity. It's just keeping your asset from deteriorating. 4. Opportunity cost, that $50,000 down payment. If you invested it in the S&P 500 at 10% returns, it would be worth $872,000 in 30 years. But it's sitting in your walls as debt equity instead. If you can rent a comparable house for less than $2,916, you aren't throwing money away. You're buying your freedom at a discount while the homeowner pays a premium for the illusion of ownership. And in most $500,000 markets, you can rent for $2,500 to $2,800. You're throwing away less than the homeowner. They just call their waste building equity to feel better about it. Stop. Now let me show you what actually happens to your $100,000 salary when reality hits. You make $100,000. Sounds great. Until the government shows up. Federal taxes, $18,000. State taxes, mid-tax state. $5,000. FICA/Medicare. $7,650. After-tax income, $69,350. That's $5,779 per month to live on. Your housing costs? $4,580. That's 79% of your after-tax income going to housing. You're not in the suffocation zone anymore. You're in the financial coma zone. After housing, you have $1,199 left per month for everything else. Food, gas, car payment, insurance, student loans, childcare, savings, emergencies, actually living your life. This is what I call the middle-class donut hole. You make too much to qualify for government assistance, but not enough to afford the lifestyle society expects you to have as a six-figure earner. You can't write off mortgage interest anymore because the standard deduction is higher. You can't deduct property taxes beyond $10,000. You're paying full price for everything, while the ultra-wealthy rig the system with trusts and tax havens. And here's where it gets psychologically brutal. As a six-figure earner, society expects you to perform a role. This is what I call the conformity tax. You're supposed to live in the good neighborhood. Your kids are supposed to go to the good schools. You're supposed to drive a car that matches your income bracket. So you stretch. You buy the $500,000 house even though it consumes 79% of your income. You lease the $60,000 SUV even though you can barely afford it. You're not building wealth. You're performing wealth for an audience that doesn't care about you. And the stress? It's crushing. You're one bad Tuesday away from a $2,500 catastrophe. Your car needs $1,800 in repairs? That's a crisis. Your kid breaks their arm and insurance doesn't cover everything? There goes your emergency fund. You're making $100,000 and living in survival mode. Welcome to the suffocation zone. But it gets even worse, because that $500,000 house isn't just expensive. It's an anchor that's destroying your career potential. In a rapidly changing economy, your greatest asset in your 30s and 40s is optionality, the ability to relocate for a better opportunity. Studies show that people who switch jobs with geographic flexibility earn 20% to 30% more than those who stay in one place. But you can't relocate. You're chained to that $500,000 house. Moving would trigger the exit tax, 6% in realtor fees plus 4% in closing costs. That's a $50,000 transaction fee just to leave. So when a dream job offer comes from another city with a $130,000 salary, a $30,000 raise, you can't take it. After paying the $50,000 exit tax, That raise becomes a $20,000 loss in year one. You're financially trapped. Meanwhile, your friend who kept renting, they can relocate in 30 days. They take the $30,000 raise. Over 10 years, that mobility advantage is worth $400,000 plus in additional career earnings. And that $50,000 down payment you're so proud of, it's dead equity. It's locked in walls where it cannot be rebalanced, produces no dividends, cannot be used for emergencies, cannot buy groceries. If you had invested that $50,000 in the S&P 500 instead, in 30 years, it becomes $872,000. That down payment just cost you almost $1 million in opportunity cost. Now, let me show you what you should actually do with a $100,000 salary. Run the price-to-rent ratio for your market. Divide the home price by annual rent. If a $500,000 house costs $500,000 and comparable rent is $2,500 per month, $30,000 per year, your ratio is 16.6. Anything above 20 screams, rent and invest the difference. Here's what happens if you rent instead. Rent a comparable house. $2,500 per month after tax income, $5,779 per month. Housing percentage, 43%, still high, but survivable. Money left over, $3,279 per month. Now invest the difference between what you would have spent on ownership versus rent. Would have spent on housing, $4,580. Actually spending on rent, $2,500. Difference to invest, $2,080 per month. Invest $2,080 per month at 10% average returns, 10 years, $430,000. 20 years, $1,580,000. 30 years, $4,470,000. The renter who invested the difference has $4.5 million in liquid assets after 30 years. The homeowner has a paid-off $500,000 house and maybe $200,000 in other savings. The renter has $4 million more wealth, full career mobility, lower stress, and a liquid empire that pays them instead of consuming them. This is why a $100,000 salary is broke for a $500,000 house. The math doesn't support it. The stress isn't worth it. The opportunity cost is catastrophic. The real flex in 2026 isn't the $500,000 house you can barely afford. It's walking away money, enough liquid assets that you can quit a toxic job or take a risk on yourself. The homeowner making $100,000 with 79% of their income going to housing can't quit. They're trapped. You, with liquid assets and low housing costs? You can walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. Real wealth is silent. It's the liquid empire compounding in the market. Fake wealth is loud. It's the $500,000 house that's suffocating you. So run the forensics. Calculate the 7% rule for that $500,000 house. Figure out what percentage of your income would go to housing. Calculate the exit tax. Calculate what investing the difference would become in 30 years. Then ask yourself, am I buying this house because the math supports it or because society expects me to perform success? Drop your interest vapor calculation in the comments. Tell me what the 7% rule says for your market. You're not broke because you make $100,000. You're broke if you buy a $500,000 house on that income and trap yourself in financial servitude for 30 years. The goal isn't to own a deed. The goal is to build a liquid empire that gives you options, freedom, and actual wealth instead of the performance of wealth. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to this channel. See you on the next one.